Hello, this is Jordi Rambla and Frederica Sisa from the CRG team, members of the CINECA project. As Jonathan mentioned in the introduction, we will show you the CINECA Services Registry user interface and the way of adding and querying a new service into this service registry. The service registry currently has only 3 services. All of them happens to be beacons, but in the next iteration or when these services are ready, we will have other types of services also in use by CINECA. The information from these services is not just shown available in the user interface, could also be found querying the API. So you can see here the different beacons listed, and you can detect here that this is the beacon from H3 Africa. This other beacon is the beacon from SAB, and the last beacon is the beacon from EGA. So we would like to add a new beacon. This beacon is already available. So it's the beacon from Candic, and this beacon is already up and running. It has his own URLs, and indeed he has its own service info, that it's the information that is displayed here. This information will be leveraged by the user interface in order to populate this information. So if I am the owner of the pseudo child beacon and I want it to be added to the CINECA service registry, I will contact now in this current version to the service registry administrator, that in this case, Fred will be playing that role. And I will ask him to add this beacon, this service into this service registry. So Fred, please, could you add this beacon into this registry?
Yes, I'm going to share my screen and add it and show you. You should be seeing my screen, and on the top right, the part that is in blue, you see a configuration file that is listing at the moment 1, 2, and 3 beacons in a form of a dictionary where you have an ID of the beacon and then you have a name and a URL. And in here you see that the Candig one is commented. So if I uncomment it and I save, on the left side you see that I am actually logged in to the machine that has the container. And if I make down, I turn down the service, and then when I make up, I reboot the service, and with the changes, of course, that I just made. And now if you reload the page, you should see 4 cards now. The Candig now just showed up. This was just that simple. All right, Jordi.
Okay. Thank you. So if you have noticed, the amount of information that it's recorded for each beacon is very, very few, very short. So we rely on the service info exposed by this service in order to populate this thing. I will also refresh that user interface for us to see that this beacon now appears here. Okay, so once you have the beacon in the service registered in the service registry, you can request this beacon some information. One of them, for example, is the list of cohorts that this beacon is providing. So you can open this in a new tab. In this case, for example, this example that we have already prepared, and you can see here the list of cohorts per beacon. So in the case of SAB, for example, we have 2 different cohorts. One of them is, this is following the schema, the minimal information dataset schema, cohort schema from CINECA. So here you can see the name of the cohort, and again, this other cohort here is the C callouts, and this one is the callouts. And in the categories of information, you can find information about which are the description or the attributes of these cohorts. In this case, for example, it is declaring that its metagenomics analysis is not included. This is the name of the cohort and randomly chosen. For example, you can see here that the phenotype information is not included. Okay. In other cases, you can have a different solution. For example, in the case of H3 Africa, we also will have a couple of different cohorts that again have its own attributes. Okay. So you cannot not necessarily need just to list the cohort information. You can also send queries to these beacons. In this case, for example, we have one example prepared. If you click on this, you will get the results back from these different cohorts, different beacons, and you can check if this beacons has or not has the requested allele. In this case, for example, we see the SAB beacon is not having that variant. The pseudo-child beacon is also not having that variant. The EGA is having the variant. Sorry, HC Africa is having the variant, and the EGA beacon is not having the variant. So in this case, the variant is only presenting one of the different beacons, and using these URLs, you can navigate to these places and see exactly more information, request access to this data, and do any operation you think relevant, next step relevant for this query. Okay, and that is the demo that we want to show you today. Service registry, as Jonathan mentioned, is just one piece of the tool, an internal piece of the tool that is mostly leveraged by other services in order to reach the information, to do the analysis, and do everything that it's the end user part, research-oriented part of the CINECA project. Thank you for attending. Bye.